in one of the most dramatic showdowns between a US president and an international broadcaster, Donald Trump is threatening to sue the BBC for more than $1 billion, his claim that Britain's largest news network deceptively edited a documentary to make him look guilty of inciting the January 6th Capitol riot. But as bold as that lawsuit sounds, Trump faces a mountain of legal challenges before his case can even reach trial. So, what exactly happened? And does his claim stand a chance? Let's break it down. According to Trump's legal team, the BBC's Panorama program, aired in October 2024, spliced together two separate parts of a speech he made on January 6, 2021. The edit, they argue, made it appear as though Trump directly urged his supporters to storm the US Capitol. In a letter obtained by Reuters, Trump's lawyers demanded that the BBC retract the episode or face a $1 billion lawsuit. Trump, who has repeatedly denied any role in inciting violence that day, told Fox News host Laura Ingraham that he had, quote, an obligation to sue. They defrauded the public, he said. Following the backlash, BBC chair Samir Shah apologized for the editing, calling it a serious lapse in judgment. A BBC spokesperson later confirmed that the network was reviewing Trump's legal letter. The controversy has already shaken the organization. Within days, both Director General Tim Davie and Chief Executive of News Deborah Turness resigned, deepening a crisis of confidence inside the BBC newsroom. Here's where things get tricky. Trump's lawyers say they'll file the case in Florida, his legal residence. But before any trial can begin, a US court would have to decide whether it even has jurisdiction over the BBC, a foreign company. Legal experts say Trump would need to prove two things. First, that the BBC has a meaningful presence in Florida, and second, that people in Florida actually watched the documentary online and felt misled by it. The BBC, of course, wasn't broadcasting that program on American TV. It aired only in the UK, though it was temporarily available through the BBC's global streaming platform. The network does have offices in Los Angeles and New York, and it's been sued before in Florida federal court. But none of that guarantees Trump's case will stick. If the court finds it lacks jurisdiction, the lawsuit could be dismissed before it ever gets started. Even if the case moves forward, Trump faces another massive hurdle: the US standard for defamation. Under American law, public figures like Trump must meet an extremely high bar. They must prove that the defendant not only published something false and damaging, but did so knowingly or with reckless disregard for the truth. That's a tough sell. During the pre-trial discovery phase, Trump's lawyers would likely demand internal BBC communications, emails, memos, or notes, showing that producers or editors ignored red flags or deliberately misled viewers. They might also rely on a leaked internal BBC memo written by an ethics advisor. That memo reportedly warned of systemic bias inside the network, particularly in favor of left-leaning political narratives. If true, Trump's team could argue that this culture of bias fueled the deceptive editing. But again, proving intentional deception, not just sloppy editing, is key. On the other side, the BBC has some of the strongest legal protections available, thanks to the First Amendment. Freedom of speech and press are deeply protected in the US, and courts are generally reluctant to punish news organizations for editorial decisions. In Florida, the BBC could also invoke a state law designed to quickly dismiss defamation suits that are frivolous or intended to silence protected speech. Their defense would likely rest on two main arguments: that the documentary was substantially true and that the editing did not create a false impression. They could also argue that Trump's reputation, already polarizing and heavily debated, wasn't damaged in a measurable way. Trump, of course, disagrees. He claims the BBC's actions caused him overwhelming reputational and financial harm. You might be wondering, why doesn't Trump just sue the BBC in its home country? Two reasons. First, the UK's statute of limitations for defamation is only 1 year, and that deadline has already passed. Second, even if he did win, damages in the UK rarely exceed a few £100,000. In the US, by contrast, payouts can soar into the billions. And Trump has a history of going big with defamation claims. That billion-dollar figure might sound shocking, but legal experts say it's likely a starting point, a leverage move to force settlement talks. Ultimately, the amount would be decided by a judge or jury, assuming the case even makes it to trial. Trump has made similar high-stakes moves before. In 2024, he filed a $20 billion lawsuit against CBS over an interview with then-presidential rival Kamala Harris. That case settled quietly for around $16 million, and in July he sued the Wall Street Journal for $10 billion over an article linking him to Jeffrey Epstein, a case that's still ongoing. So, will Trump's billion-dollar defamation threat against the BBC hold up in court? Legal experts say it's possible, but unlikely. First, he must convince a US court to even hear the case. Then, he must prove the BBC knowingly deceived the public, a burden few public figures have ever overcome. For now, it's another headline in the long-running battle between Donald Trump and the media, one that's as much about public image as it is about the law.